This show is sponsored by Bitonic. Invest in Bitcoin with ease.
Connect the build.
Noelyne Sumba, Machankura, Bitcoin layer, Kenya.
Cycling can be both a sport and a way to explore new places. Have you ever cycled more than 100 kilometers in one go?
No.
Chicken is a global favorite, but let's be real, some people can eat it daily. Could you eat chicken daily without getting bored?
Yes.
Kombucha is known for its probiotics benefits. Do you drink kombucha more for the health benefits than for the taste?
Yes.
You recently watched Galaxy Quest and found it fun. Do you think it's one of the best sci-fi comedies ever made?
Yes.
As a proud member of the Beehive, would you drop everything to see Beyoncé live if given the chance?
Yes.
Ludwig von Mises' Human Action is a deep dive into economics. Have you ever tried explaining its concepts to a friend who had no interest in economics?
No.
Indonesia and Malaysia are on your list of favorite holiday destinations. Do you prefer exploring cities over beaches when traveling?
No.
Kenya is known for producing some of the world's best long-distance runners. Have you ever considered taking up competitive running?
No.
Coffee is a favorite for many, but kombucha has its own loyal following. Do you prefer kombucha over coffee in the morning?
Yes.
Are you Satoshi Nakamoto?
No.
Welcome to the Connect the World weekly podcast. I'm Edward.
And I'm Steph. We are ready to take you with us into the beautiful world of the Lightning Network.
Enjoy the ride. This is episode 132 of Connect the World, and this show is made possible by our friends from BL3P, Bitonic. Now they're called Bitonic, and BRINGIN for a long time now. Thank you guys really for helping us out with our mission and, of course, to connect the world together with Bitcoin through the Lightning Network. And if you also want to help out with our mission, then follow us on X, follow us on Nostrdam, or subscribe at our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions at all, then head over to one of our Telegram groups and you can ask us anything.
Connect the build.
Welcome to the show, Noelyne.
Yeah, Noelyne,
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to finally be on the show.
Yeah, finally. Because you produced some great episodes for us at the Bitcoin conference. I think it was 2 years ago already.
2 years ago.
Yeah. And Ramon visited the past edition, so he had a small interview with you there.
Yes.
And now you're in the show.
Now I'm in the show.
Yes. I thought that was also nice because then a lot of people had the same questions, and that's interesting to watch. Everybody's take on a subject. So yeah, that was really give a great insight. Hey, there is one thing, Steph, that we need to tell because otherwise we're just gonna miss it, because Bitcoin Film Fest, you know it, Steph, right?
Yeah.
We didn't go last year, of course.
No,
but,
we wanted to go because it was at the same period at Bitcoin Arnhem, right?
Arnhem.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah,
and we were busy there, so it was unfortunate that we couldn't go. But it's organized again, Edward.
Yeah. It's organized again in Poland, in Warsaw, from 22nd of May to the 25th. For those who don't know it, it's a unique celebration of Bitcoin culture through the art of cinema. Well, there is no such greater thing as cinema and, of course, audio. So I really love it. And it showcases so diverse range of films, and including documentaries, dramas, shorts. So yeah, it is really something that you should should go to, of course. And as a special treat from our friends from Albi, and specifically for all our listeners, we're offering also a discount code. So if you're listening this or watching this, you can check bitcoinfilmfest.com and use our discount code CTW10. And it gives you a great discount to get your ticket and an opportunity to experience the Bitcoin culture in the best way. So do it, and
That's great.
Maybe we'll meet you there.
Yeah. Now back to Noelyne.
Noelyne.
Yeah, I'm curious because your favorite sport is cycling.
Yes.
And you already told us that you never cycled more than 100 kilometers in one go.
Funny thing, and not in one go. I usually do an utmost of 10 kilometers every weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But the thing I was wondering, because you live in Kenya, and for us Europeans, or maybe it's better to say for us Dutchies, Kenya is like a place where it's extremely hot every day. Cycling is not at the top of my list when I'm thinking about Kenya, right? So how do you manage to even cycle 10 kilometers? Because when it's 40 plus degrees, I can imagine that it's still very hard to cycle, right?
You get used to it after a while. So I usually cycle at the park, and there's lots of trees. At least they protect me with the shade. So that's how I go about it. But you're right, it can be quite hot, especially where I live at the coast. It's very hot most days.
Yeah. And you cycle with a group then when you say you're cycling at the back?
Yes, there's a group, or sometimes I just go by myself to be close to nature as well.
Okay, cool. And how many people of the cycling group have you orange pilled already, Noelyne?
Majority of them are still not open to Bitcoin, unfortunately, but they listen to me talking about Bitcoin. Yeah.
Okay, so when you cycle at the back, you can shout all the way to the front, right? So it's easy to get the whole group.
Yes.
Noelyne, you're a member of Beehive. You told us, and did you ever see Beyonce live, or didn't you?
Unfortunately, no. The closest she's come to Africa was South Africa, but I'd love to maybe see one of her shows one of these days. So I hope she's still open to performing when I can.
Yeah, of course, of course. And you, Steph, did you see? Because I never. I think she never went to the Netherlands, right?
Yeah, she did. Because I know that for sure. Because my mother and my sister and I think it was my sister-in-law or my niece, but I don't know for sure. But they visited the concert, so
okay.
They're also a big fan. I'm not sure. Yeah, it should be. It should be. I mean, where else, right? But no. I think it was in
the biggest
Amsterdam Arena or something. But
so the biggest venue there.
Yeah. So, but I'm not a member of the Beehive. No. But to be honest, it's good music, right? I mean,
it is. Yeah. Well, she's a great performer and an artist for a long time already. So Well, I hope you can see her at least once. I mean, that's for sure.
I hope I will as well. Mm-hmm.
And we are going to talk about Machankura and Bitcoin Layer, the work you do there. And we had already recorded a episode in the past with Gotazzo about Machankura. But it was also Edward. I mean, was it?
It was at the beginning, I think.
Maybe 2.5 years or 3 years ago, even.
I can check it here. But,
how
it
did
was
you?
12 December, episode 57. I mean,
57.
We're now at 132.
That's a while ago. But how did you get in contact with Nogazzo and how did you ended up there?
Meet each other.
So on Twitter, currently X, when it was still Twitter. So I was just, when I found out about Bitcoin for the first time, I decided to go on X and tell as many people as I can about it. And while I was tweeting, he was at the same time doing a translation with Exonomia. and he was looking for translators, Swahili translators. This was before Machankura, and that's when I came in, and we did a bit of translations of books. And one of the books I did was actually Layered Money, among the first books I translated by Nick Bhatia, and that's how I also ended up on the Bitcoin layer as well.
Oh, cool. And which way did you translate? Obviously through English, from English to
Swahili.
To local Swahili. Okay.
Swahili.
Yes, so Swahili is spoken by around 200 million people in Africa. So Eastern Africa, Central Africa, and a bit of Southern Africa. So we felt it was necessary to have majority of these countries also have Bitcoin literature in a language that they can be able to understand. And so I joined Exonime was already translating in a couple of African languages.
Yeah, cool. And can you guys keep track of how many people download or have read the things that you translated, the books and the articles, or is it not easy to?
So for the books, there's only one book, the Bitcoin Standard, which we've been able to translate to do the hard copy. We are still in the process of selling it. Not many. I think we're around 30 right now. But our target is around 1,000 people for the very first book. So, but for the website, it's accessible to anyone. It's open source.
Man,
cool.
It's so much work to translate, and then a whole book is just amazing. So
but it's going to get easier. AI is now here.
That's correct.
In fact, today I was just watching Plan B. They've come up with a means of translating using AI, and I was like, you guys are already come for my job. But it's so much easier right now. It's only going to get so much easier. So maybe we'll be doing the proofreading.
I was just emailing to someone who uses AI to communicate with me, and it's just English, but the person isn't English at all, so it's all AI.
Wow,
it's amazing. It really is
cool. Yeah. Hey, we really want to talk about Machankura and your work at Bitcoin Layer, but it has to be in the 21 minutes. So if you like, and we would really love to enter that part, so we can fire all these questions at you. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
The 21 minutes is brought to you by BRINGIN, the app to reliably sell and spend Bitcoin from any wallet.
Yeah, so, let's start to dive in a little bit more about Machankura. It was a long time we spoke about it, so it's nice to start over again a little bit. What's your role within Machankura, and can you tell us a bit more about how Machankura works at a technical level to enable Bitcoin transactions for users without internet-connected devices?
Okay. So with Machankura, I have focused mostly on the marketing, but I am more of the director in Kenya. But I just focus on user registrations. I think all of us in a startup are more focused on increasing the number of users. And I think that's the major thing that I do. It's been very exciting. Challenges up and down. I was very new to tech before Machankura. So I've also been learning in the process how it works.
Of course.
Okay, cool. And how many people are using it now? Or do you have some numbers? Is it able to? Are you guys able to track the users that are using it, or?
Yes, absolutely, we can. For Kenya, we are already above the 11,000 mark. I can't be able to speak for the whole, but for Kenya, we are already above 11,000 people since we began. It's been growing. Cool. Yeah, really steadily. There's lots of demand. The major challenge we've been having is just accessibility of Bitcoin in terms of the on-ramping. But in terms of the users, they're really excited about it. Every time they hear about it, they're open to using the platform.
Yeah, and are they then using it on a daily basis, or is it just that they are using it we in Europe mostly to store to save in it, or are there people in Kenya more using it like a medium of exchange?
Yes, absolutely. There's lots of, not so much of a huge number, but there are people who are using it on a daily basis. Because, for example, I use it on a daily basis. I earn in Bitcoin, and we've enabled. There's a platform called Tando that enables you to actually spend Bitcoin anywhere. So it's actually become easier for me to just transact and have my cash in Bitcoin, and it's also the same for majority of the people who are also getting paid in Bitcoin as well. So it is being used on a daily basis. Yeah.
So you're getting paid in Bitcoin, and you can live off it.
Yes, you can live off it in Kenya. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's a nice example.
Mm-hmm. Can you share maybe, because this is kind of a personal story, but can you share maybe another personal story or example of how Machankura has positively impacted an individual or community where you have contact with?
Okay, so in fact, very nice you're asking this right now. Just on this Saturday, I was at a community called AfriBit, Kibra. Mm-hmm. Maybe if I can talk about Kibra a bit. It's an informal sector, actually the largest informal sector in Africa, and has a population of around, if I'm not wrong, almost says 500,000 up to, but almost 200,000 to 500,000 people in informal sector. And what we've had with this area is that it has had an influx of NGOs coming in, trying to transform lives of the people in the area, but it's not really been effective as much. Yeah. And so we met one of the community leaders in the area called Ronnie, and he started AfriBit Kibra, in which he was trying to look at a way in which Bitcoin can now be able to transform the lives of the people in the area. And when I got there, it was the first time I was meeting them, but they had already been using Machankura to transact for a while, because a majority of these places, even if they have access to internet connectivity, it's still very expensive for them to be able to afford. Machankura really comes in for them in terms of transacting without internet, and they even told me they were really excited with the product, how they've been using it. We were able to pay a couple of the areas of the merchants using Bitcoin as well. So it really warmed my heart to see that the impact is really being created, and I believe it can only grow further. Yeah.
It's also interesting because that's a scenario which we don't even think about, I think, Edward. That you can also be in a situation that you have internet access, but it's just not, you can't pay for it because you don't have the money for it. And then here in Europe, or for instance, you just can't interact with Bitcoin because there is no other way. But you guys, with the help of Machankura, the great project you have, you make it then accessible for people, and they can just use it without having internet. So that's very interesting. Yeah. Cool.
Mm-hmm. And I was also thinking, well, we talked a little bit already about the challenges to start up with Machankura. I can imagine that also regulatory difficulties, perhaps, especially in different countries where Bitcoin is viewed with skepticism, can be difficult. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
In countries like Tanzania and Uganda, when we started off, we lost our USSD. We've talked about it. And right now, there's still lots of uncertainty, even in my country, Kenya. We are still waiting for government or parliament to go into sitting so that they can decide the way forward with the industry. We were hoping at least with the US going with the strategic Bitcoin reserve way, it will open like a light bulb, politicians to realize it's time to actually start talking about this. So the best you can do is just do it. But you're right.
Yeah.
So with regulatory uncertainty, marketing is not easy. So we can't do mainstream marketing as easy as it would have been if you were a regulated company. So I think that's the major disadvantage we have. And also in terms of banking, most banks were given like a warning to not give bank accounts to companies that are dealing in either crypto or Bitcoin. So that's also a disadvantage, especially when it comes to if you want to do on-ramping and off-ramping of even big companies. So it's still a gray area, though it's still in use. But maybe that would have been better if we could get some clarity on it.
Yeah, you see the same thing, that education is key, because if they get such notifications from the banks, then of course, if you don't understand it completely, then your skepticism is there because you don't understand it fully. Yeah. So I can imagine that the educational part around Machankura to explain it and explain Bitcoin a little bit further, then that will help in the end. But that's of course a long-term project. So
yeah. But because what are the biggest misconceptions people have about Bitcoin usage in Africa, Noelyne, talking about the education part and all, and maybe educate the users that don't use your service yet, but maybe also educate the policymakers, and how do you guys at Machankura help to address those misconceptions?
For us, we follow a bottom-up approach, and with that, you find most people go with the get-rich-quick. Once they get into Bitcoin, the first question is, how fast can I be able to get money out of this? So, and with that, you find that most of them are susceptible to scams, because you find somebody who will tell you, sure, we can be able to give us your money and we'll buy you Bitcoin, or rather, some even say we'll do Bitcoin mining for you, and then we'll be able to pay you back. So majority of people get scammed, and there's lots of scams that have been happening in the country. And with this, you find even if you come and you're trying to really remove the misconception, there's a doubt that arises. So you have to start explaining the concept of money and why Bitcoin is important, and it takes a while for people to adjust their mindset. So that's just been the major challenge. So the misconception around it and the scams. Yeah.
And do you also think for the potential users, does it also do they also take in account that a lot of governments in the continent of Africa have a track record of corruption, and also the fiat systems are I think I can state that they are more corrupt than other fiat systems around the world. Although you can make a point that maybe all fiat systems are somehow corrupted, but in Africa it might be a bigger problem than for us here in Europe. Maybe do they also take that in account? Is it also that they are also not open to use a new technology as Bitcoin maybe?
Okay, so I think one thing maybe we have to also understand, the politicians in Africa are looked at as the saviors, because capital is concentrated among the political class in a majority of African countries. So, and you can imagine how people will treat, because they're the wealthiest in the society. So there's this reverence to politicians, almost fear, and they're never really actually held accountable, even for most of this corruption. So, and it's very difficult for people to come ahead and try and challenge them, even though they do know that the way the system is set up, it's not to their advantage, it's to mostly benefit the political class. And even though they're aware, and accessibility to capital still, if it doesn't flow to them, understanding Bitcoin will still be a problem, because majority of these people live hand to mouth. Areas of settlement like Kibra, it's very difficult to find people who are earning even up to more than living more than up to $2 in a day. So this is a challenge, and trying to explain to these people that the political class will not be there to be the savior is the approach that we want to actually take on that, so that they can understand there's a way out of this system that has been set up here.
Yeah, Bitcoin is especially the way out. I mean, there's no better way out than Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
So,
There is.
Can imagine.
Yeah. And Noelyne, you're also a correspondent for Bitcoin Layer. I can imagine that also helps you with the stories that you find. Can you tell us a little bit more about Bitcoin Layer and the work you do there?
Yes, as I mentioned, I joined Nick Bhatia once after I translated his book, Layered Money. So what I do there is just look at stories in Africa surrounding Bitcoin, and because there's not much going on, so it depends on what's happening at a country at a particular time, and if it's of interest. For example, mostly we just focus on the mining aspect of it. Recently, Ethiopia has been at the forefront of that in Africa. We look at the regulatory aspects of it and the major economies in Africa, whether you're looking at Nigeria, South Africa, and how they're going about in terms of Bitcoin. So it's just a gathering of stories, and we meet and discuss the current happenings as well.
Cool. Hey, what's this? Because you also write stories then?
I write a few stories. I don't focus 100% on writing, but when I'm in a good mood, I like writing. As well.
But can you maybe share what's the story that pops up in your mind firstly? Which the story that amazes you the most from the past year? I would say.
Okay. Recently, I was very shocked. At least before the USAID was before the USAID started, I knew about IMF and the happenings in Africa, but I did not know the correlation between it and USAID operations. So that was very shocking and eye-opening to me. I wrote about it on my Medium. I feel this are some of the stories that Africans really need to understand, so that they can understand the position we're in and how much this system is integrated. And if you want to fix it, there's so many powers at hand that we have to deal with as well.
I can also imagine that for a lot of people, it's not on top of their mind. I mean, they have it's maybe not the right way to put it, but they have other things that they need to care about firstly, right? So other problems that they have their attention to. So but the frustrating thing is that Bitcoin might be also a solution for those bigger problems they have to face. So. I mean, I can imagine for you, because you obviously you're orange pilled, so you know that Bitcoin can be a solution. But I can imagine that it's very hard for you to cope with that, because you want to print it in, but it's not people. They're not maybe keen to learn about it or something.
It can be difficult, especially even with family, because they don't understand. They feel like you're obsessed or you're in a cult. But I hope we'll get to a point. We can't get to everybody, but I hope we can reach a majority of people who will be willing to listen and understand and embrace Bitcoin as a way of living.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, and at ABC, the conference, you spoke also about Bitcoin as a tool of self-reliance and collaboration.
Yes.
Have you seen this also play out in the communities where Bitcoin is gaining traction?
Oh yes, we were with Ramon. I think Ramon can also in South Africa. Bitcoin Ekasi have done an amazing job. I think the community in South Africa should be the number one in terms of adoption. I was very impressed by how much they've been able to even convince their major what's this called? The major stores. It's called Pick and Pay. We could be able to pay Bitcoin in any place in South Africa.
We talked to Karel van Wyk, who developed for them. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Such a history then in South Africa. I mean, that's such a long time for a community to and also for merchants. That's a really great example.
Yeah, and the fact that they've been able to work together, even majority of the circular economies are working. They're very well integrated in South Africa. We're looking forward to working more like them, or even doing better than them in our side as well. Yeah.
Hey, and I was also wondering, what role does Bitcoin play in financial inclusion? I mean, we already touched on it a bit, but especially for women in the more rural communities in Africa, I can imagine that it's also even harder to have financial inclusion there. What role can Bitcoin play?
Okay, so
or does already play?
Yeah. So with the banking system, it's either one, majority of the rural population cannot be able to even access it. I remember there's a place I used to live where, by the way, even scared of getting into the bank because English was a major spoken language and they couldn't be able to understand English. So, and they couldn't be able to probably even read or write. So getting to be able to create a bank account was a challenge for them. And they will just prefer not to get a bank account. So you can imagine if people have to send money abroad and they have to access the bank, they are definitely cut out of the system. One thing, though, we have to say, M-Pesa has played a huge role, at least in including majority of these people, but they're still using fiat. And that's still a problem. Inflation, the effects of inflation is still felt among a majority of this population. But when it comes to accessibility, at least M-Pesa has been able to assist. I can speak that for Kenya. But in other African countries that I've been to, it's been a problem, especially because they still use cash. I've been to Rwanda, it's still a problem. Uganda, still accessibility is still a challenge to reach majority of the places.
I can imagine.
And well, you also mentioned then the importance of incentive structures. Incentives are always important. How do you see Bitcoin changing work culture and financial habits among those who start using it? I mean, when they are starting to use it, what changed then? Effectively in their lives.
So maybe I can mention, because I said Machankura is in use by some people in the country daily, and one of the ways to get Bitcoin into the system is through earning, and when you see, when you initially, even with AfriBit Kibera, they mentioned initially when people get the Bitcoin the first time, they rush to go and sell it and convert it into fiat. And then once it goes up, they realize, oh my, I sold, and there's an opportunity cost here, and that I could have gained from. And then you realize there's a savings culture that now develops, and people will prefer to now hold. And with the savings culture, the low time preference eventually comes, where people have different priorities on where or how to spend their money. And I have seen this not just in myself, but with people around me who have also introduced in Bitcoin and are also adding in Bitcoin. You see priorities begin to change. And I think this is the best way we can be able to change behavior in Africa as well.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Hey, and to finish off, because is Machankura also available for businesses? By the way, can a business also use Machankura?
Oh, yes. So integrating APIs with businesses, especially those who can help us with on-ramp and off-ramp. So it is possible, for businesses.
Okay, so to finish off the interview, I also hear the TikTok, so we need to wrap up. But what advice would you give the African entrepreneurs who are looking to integrate Bitcoin into their businesses? So what advice can you give them?
It's now or never. Just get in as soon as possible.
Okay. Okay. Now or never. Well, that's a great way to end this interview.
Oh man, yeah, it is.
Cool.
Well, thanks for thus far, Noelyne. Thanks.
Thank you so much for having me as well. Yeah.
Connetti il mondo.
Yeah, we still have one question left for you, Noelyne.
Yep.
But you may choose yourself. So we prepared a question from Pierre Corbin. He is from Flash. From Jack Everett, Thunder Games. They released the great what was the casino game already? Eddie? Blackjack.
Clinch.
Yeah, Blackjack. They released Blackjack. They have Blackjack now. They just released it, and we have one from Joe Downey from Nice Hash. Okay. So which one will it be?
Let's go with Joe from
from Nice Hash. Here it comes.
Here he comes.
Hi, my name is Joe. I'm from Nice Hash, and this is my question for you. How many presidents do you think around the world are using Bitcoin already?
How many presidents? Let's see. We consider the number of countries holding Bitcoin. We can have 20. I don't give a reason for that.
It's just a wild guess, right?
It's just a wild guess.
It is.
My guess is that the majority of presidents owning Bitcoin privately will be in Africa, maybe.
Yeah,
my guess is
they definitely do. They definitely do hold. They just can't talk about it openly.
That's it.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
I think so. Hey, thanks again.
Thank you very much as well.
Great to have you on the show finally. Hey, where can people follow you, and where can people maybe find some more information about Machankura? Share us some links.
Okay, so for me, you can find me on X and LinkedIn, preferably at Noelyne Sumba. For Machankura, our web 8333.mobi, where you can be able to reach us. All our social media platforms are there, or rather even Machankura. You can be able to contact us through there, or even Exonomia as well. You can be able to contact us on X, Exonomia Africa.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Connetti il mondo.
That takes us to the end. Thanks again, Noelyne. And of course, thanks everybody for listening in. And of course, thanks to everyone helping to connect the world with us. So if you like our content, then please support us in our mission. Visit our website, connecttheworld.live, where you can also make a donation and subscribe, like, and share our content on your favorite platform. And remember, we need you to complete our mission. So connect the world and keep those nodes running and sets flowing. And maybe next time to ABC, that would be great, of course. And then you can meet Noelyne. And see you all next week on the same Lightning channel. Tot ziens, Noelyne.
Tot ziens.
Bye-bye. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.